Hey guys, it's a new month, which means it's time to take a look back at last month and what we've been reading. If you're new here, we're a family of 7. Our kids are between the ages of 4 and 13, and we homeschool, so we use a lot of literature in our homeschool, but we also like to read a lot. So I'm going to start with our read alouds. So in December, the first read aloud was Daughter of the Mountains. This is by Louise Rankin, I think is how you say that. Give you a look inside. There's a few little pictures. And this goes along with our story, The World, that we're doing this year. This was a really interesting book. I definitely enjoyed this book. It gave a lot of detail about what life in the area was like. I'll just read you a bit about the back. It says, Momo has always wanted a Lhasa Terrier, a dog like the ones the Buddhist priests hold sacred in their temples. And when a trader brings Pempa to her parents' tea house, Momo's dream comes true. Then it is shattered. A band of robbers steal the valuable dog and quickly escapes with him into the mountains. Momo is determined to catch them and recover her beloved Pempa, but to do that she must follow the great trade route across the mountains, a path that most people avoid, and which will surely put her life at risk. So it did a really good job of explaining the culture, the traditions, the area, and it's a neat story too, an adventure story with some action in it. So that's one that we all enjoyed, and I would definitely recommend that one. Then we moved on to The Lost Kingdom. This is by Chester Brandt, is I think how you say that. It's a level 7 with the good and the beautiful. And on the back it says 13-year-old Radmika is well acquainted with the crystal clear rivers and tangled vines of the green jungle. So when his family moves to the other side of the jungle, leaving behind his chance for an education, Radmika is perfectly suited to find a way to return. As Radmika searches for a way back to the place of his schooling, he uncovers much more than a path. Here's what it looks like inside. There's some little images in here too, black and white. This book, I don't think it does a good job explaining what it's about, because I don't think that's really what it's about. The book is about finding out his history, his family kind of history, but also it's huge on adventure. I was actually surprised. The animals he encounters, there's a lot of information about how they live, how they move, their behavior, their prints, tracking, just general knowledge about if you're in a jungle. It was really good, and especially the end, there's a lot of adventure in it and just so many details. Like, the back doesn't do it justice. This was a good book. This was a good read. And again, that went along with our story, The World. And same with this one here. This is The Endless Step by Esther Hotzig, is I think how you say that. I'll give you a look inside. So this book we didn't quite finish. I had planned to finish it before Christmas, but it just didn't happen, and I said, oh well. So this one says, in June 1941, the Rudiman family is arrested by the Russians. They are capitalists, enemies of the people. Forced from their home and friends in Vilna, Poland, they are herded into crowded cattle cars. Their destination, the endless steppes of Siberia. For 5 years, Esther and her family live in exile, weeding potato fields and working in the mines, struggling for enough food and clothing to stay alive. Only the strength of family sustains them and gives them hope for the future. This is a good book. So far, I'm really enjoying it. It gives a lot of insight into the experience of people at that time and what life in Siberia was like, and how these people who were exiled were just kind of left there and expected to survive. So I'll talk more about it next month when we actually finish it, but so far it's been a really good read and very interesting as well. And it is based on the story, the author's life. This is her. It just says some of the names in the story have been changed for obvious reasons, but this is her story, her as a child, so really interesting. So then moving on to audiobooks, we listened to Esperanza Rising by Pam Munez Ryan. It was really interesting. I definitely think it's one of those books where the audio version is worthwhile getting over just reading it yourself. There was a number of Spanish words in it, and just the narration was really well done. It's an interesting story. I think we all enjoyed it. Maybe not our absolute favorite book, but again, it gave a lot of information about kind of the times and the life and the migrant workers, and then with people coming up from Mexico, but then people coming from the other states to California, the beginning of like unions and surviving, again about survival and about going from where she is this high person in society to a migrant worker, and how her life changes and how she finds out what's really truly important in her life. So it was a good one. Definitely I would suggest listening to it over reading it, because it's definitely worth it. So then, moving on to my kids. So my 13-year-old read The Dragon's Secret. This is a level 9 from The Good and the Beautiful. And it says on the back, after arriving at the seashore to care for her sick aunt, Leslie meets Phyllis, and the two girls became instant friends. When Leslie's dog uncovers a mysterious treasure box, they're eager to figure out where it came from and what it contains. Mysterious lights, shadowy figures, stormy nights, and threatening messages are no match for the determined youngsters, who will stop at nothing to solve this mystery. Can they protect the box long enough to discover its secrets? I'll show you inside. He said it was okay. He didn't think it was great, but not horrible either, so that one is one he read. All my 3 oldest boys, they all read Pokemon, comics, like Archie, Garfield. They all love comics, so they read a lot of those. He's also reading, which book is it, Josh? Are you reading The Hobbit right now? Oh, he's also been reading the Lord of the Rings series. I think he's on book 2 right now, so he's been busy reading those. And then my 11-year-old, he read Red Hugh, Prince of Donegal. This is one that we read actually, was it last year? I think it was 2 years ago, for history. So it's a good story. And again, he said he liked it. It's that one. And again, all about like comic books and everything. And my, how old is he? 10-year-old. He read Call It Courage. This is one that we've read before as well. It's a short little book that takes place in the Pacific. It says, Mafuta has been afraid of the sea for as long as he can remember. Though his father is the great chief of Hikaru, an island whose seafaring people worship courage, Mafatu feels like an outsider. All his life he's been teased, taunted, and even blamed for storms on the sea. Then at age 15, no longer willing to put up with the ridicule and jibes, Mafatu decides to take his fate into his own hands. With his dog Yuri as a companion, Mafatu paddles out to the sea, ready to face his fears. What he learns on his lonesome adventure will change him forever and make him a hero in the eyes of his people. So again, short little book, but it's a good story. That one. Then he read this one here, Rick Riordan, The Heroes of Olympus. Again, he's another Rick Riordan fan, really enjoys that. And he read this one, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Demigod Files. Again, another Rick Riordan book that a couple of my kids really enjoy. And then I had my 3 oldest boys also read Who Was Mahatma Gandhi, as well as Joseph Stalin as part of their history. So then moving on to my 7-year-old daughter. She read this book here, Princess Penny Saves the Day. This is a level 2, The Good and the Beautiful. This is a really nice book. It's got pictures, and it's a hardcover, which is nice. But it says, Watersford is usually a peaceful place, so when trouble arises, Princess Penny wants to help. Though many in the kingdom doubt her abilities, and despite the obstacles in her path, Penny sets off to make things right. So she really enjoyed this book. And then she also read this one from The Good and the Beautiful, it's level 2, Anne Marie's Reading Adventures. I'll show you inside. Again, this is a little hardcover one with bright pictures in it, in between the reading. And it just says at the back, Anne Marie loves to read all the time and everywhere. Books take Anne Marie on so many adventures, and she would love for you to come along. Explore with Anne Marie as she overcomes fears, meets new friends of all kinds, and even learns a tip that may save her life one day, all through the wonderful world of books. So that one's by Shannon Yager, and this one was by Heidi Jenkins. Camera error there. Okay, I also had my 7-year-old read The Little People, Big Dreams, Mahatma Gandhi, to go along with history. And then I read The Belonging Place by Jean Little. And Jean Little's a very famous author in Canada, and I hadn't read this book before. I'm kind of previewing books for when we study Canada again. It was an interesting book. It was a story about a girl who's really orphaned and some relatives take her in England, and then the family immigrates to Canada. And it was interesting because my mom is an immigrant from England, along with like my aunts and my grandparents, and so I kind of understand this feeling in the book that I heard a lot growing up about how coming to Canada was a chance to own their own land, a chance to actually own something, and that's a theme that comes through this book a lot. But it talks a lot about family, about love, about hard work, so it's a good little book. I'm not sure if we're gonna do it as a read aloud yet, but it is a good read. And then that's it. I started like I think 4 or 5 different books, and I just never got very far in them. Just decided didn't want to keep reading them, so I only read 1 book last month. So that's it. That's everything I have here. Let me know what you are reading right now, what you have been reading, and what you're enjoying, because I love getting suggestions. Otherwise, I hope this finds you having a great day. Take care.